Hey, beautiful people of the Most High God, all praises to the Most High. So, this lesson and teaching from God is about King Manasseh. So, let's get right into it, alright? And we're going to talk about King Manasseh and how he did evil in the sight of the Lord and his repentance to the Lord, and how he caused the children of Judah to sin against the Lord. And let's get into it. King Manasseh. In the second book of Chronicles, chapter 33, verse 1, Manasseh was 12 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 50 and 5 years in Jerusalem. The second book of Kings, verse 21 to 2, and we're going to read chapter 21. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, after the abominations of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel. For he built up again the high places which Hezekiah his father had destroyed. And he reared up altars for Baal, and made a grove, and as did Ahab king of Israel, and worshipped all the hosts of heaven, and served them. Do you remember King Hezekiah? He had idols and idolatry set up in the land, and God sent the prophet Isaiah to tell him that he was going to kill him. And then Hezekiah repented before the Lord and took down all the idolatry out of the land. And then God sent back Isaiah to King Hezekiah and told him that he's going to add 15 years upon his life because he humbled himself before him and removed his iniquity. So, King Manasseh, for he built up again the high places which Hezekiah his father had destroyed, and he reared up altars for Baal, idols, and made a grove, and as did Ahab king of Israel, and worshipped all the hosts of heaven, and served them. And he built altars in the house of the Lord, of which the Lord said, In Jerusalem will I put my name. And he built altars for all the hosts of heaven in the two courts of the house of the Lord. And he made his son pass through the fire, and observed times, and used enchantments, and dealt with familiar spirits and wizards. He wrought much wickedness in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger. And he set a graven image of the grove that he had made in the house, of which the Lord said to David and to Solomon his son, In this house and in Jerusalem, which I have chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, will I put my name forever. Neither will I make the feet of Israel move any more out of the land which I gave their fathers, only if they will observe to do according to all that I have commanded them, and according to all the law that my servant Moses commanded them. So there was sins that King Manasseh did to provoke the Lord to anger, and he wrought a lot of wickedness in the sight of the Lord with observing times, using enchantments, doing witchcraft, dealing with familiar spirits and wizards and things of that sort, and setting up idolatry, right? And what does God say about these things in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 31? Regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. And in Leviticus chapter 20, verse 6, and the soul that turns after such as have familiar spirits, and after wizards to go a-whoring after them, I will even set my face against that soul, and will cut him off from among his people. Now, you know that King Manasseh, he did enchantments, he seeked unto wizards, he observed times, he did the things God told him not to do. And in Leviticus chapter 20, verse 27, we know how God feels about these things. A man also, or a woman that has a familiar spirit, or that is a wizard, shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones, their blood shall be upon them. And in Deuteronomy 18, chapter 10, we know exactly how God feels about these things that King Manasseh was doing. There shall not be found among you any that makes his son or his daughters pass through the fire. It said that King Manasseh made his sons pass through the fire, right? He did these things. He wrought much wickedness. So we're going to go back up where it says that he made his sons and daughters pass through the fire. These things this king did. In the second book of Kings, chapter 21, verse 6, and he made his son pass through the fire, and observed times, and used enchantments, and dealt with familiar spirits and wizards. He wrought much wickedness in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger. This is what King Manasseh did before the Lord. He caused even his own children to pass through the fire. He observed times, he used enchantments, he dealt with familiar spirits and wizards. He wrought much wickedness in the sight of the Lord to provoke him to anger. And God tells you not to do that to your children, right? In Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10, he says, "There shall not be found among you any one that makes his son or his daughter to pass through the fire." King Manasseh did that. Or that uses divination. King Manasseh did that. Or an observer of times. King Manasseh did that. Or an enchanter. King Manasseh used enchantments. Or a witch. He consulted with wizards. He did all of those things that God told him not to do. That's written in Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10. And or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. King Manasseh did all those things. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these abominations, the Lord thy God does drive them out from before thee. Thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God. And in Isaiah chapter 8, verse 19, and when they say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and that mutter, should not a people seek unto their God, for the living to the dead? Now, there was a time where Josiah put away those things out of the land in the second book of Kings, chapter 23, verse 24, and tried to establish back the law and order of Moses, the commandments of God. Moreover, the workers with familiar spirits, and the wizards, and the images, and the idols, and all the abominations that were spied in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem did Josiah put away, that he might perform the words of the law which were written in the book of Hilkiah the priest found in the house of the Lord. But we're going to go back to Manasseh, second book of Kings, verse 21, verse 9. But they hearkened not, and Manasseh seduced them to do more evil. So Manasseh seduced the people at Jerusalem at that time, the children of Judah, to do more evil in the sight of the Lord. He taught them how to observe times and do those things, sent pass their children through the fire, and to shed innocent blood. We're going to get into that part where he taught them how to shed innocent blood. But they hearkened not, and Manasseh seduced them to do more evil than did the nations whom the Lord destroyed before the children of Israel. And the Lord spake by his servants the prophets, saying, because Manasseh, king of Judah, has done these abominations, and has done wickedly above all that the Amorites did, which were before him, and has made Judah also to sin with his idols. So as I was saying, he caused the children of Israel to sin with his idols, his idolatry, his enchantments, and his sins of shedding innocent blood. We're going to get there. And the second book of Kings, verse 21, verse 16. Moreover, Manasseh shed innocent blood very much, till he had filled Jerusalem from one end to another, beside his sin wherewith he had made Judah to sin. So he caused the children of Judah to sin. In what ways? In observing times, in doing enchantments, idolatry, sons passing through the fire, and shedding innocent blood. Moreover, Manasseh shed innocent blood very much, till he had filled Jerusalem from one end to another, beside his sin wherewith he had made Judah to sin, in doing that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. And we know how God feels about innocent bloodshed. We're going to get into that. And also for the innocent blood that he shed, for he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, which the Lord would not pardon. So God, let's read this again, the second book of Kings, chapter 24, verse 4. and also for the innocent blood that he shed. For he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, which the Lord would not pardon. So we know the Lord will not pardon innocent bloodshed. And Manasseh, he shed a lot of innocent blood from one end to another, of Jerusalem. It says very much. Moreover, Manasseh shed innocent blood very much, till he had filled Jerusalem from one end to another. So we know he did a lot of evil, and it says he wrought a lot of evil in the sight of the Lord. And this is about his innocent bloodshed. So, for he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, which the Lord would not pardon. Now in Exodus chapter 23, verse 7, what does God say about innocent blood and even just being involved with that? Keep thee far from a false matter, and the innocent and righteous slay thou not, for I will not justify the wicked. So right here it tells us innocent blood which the Lord would not pardon, and he tells you, keep thee far from a false matter, and the innocent and the righteous slay thou not, for I will not justify the wicked. And there's more scriptures about God talking about innocent bloodshed, which King Manasseh shed very much, as written. Now in Psalms 106 and 37, this is what Manasseh did. Yeah, they sacrificed their sons and their daughters unto devils, and shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and of their daughters, whom they sacrificed unto the idols of Canaan. And the land was polluted with blood. So when they shed innocent blood, they pollute the land with blood. And then there comes a reckoning from God, Now Proverbs chapter 1 verse 11. So God tells you, if people try to entice you on shedding innocent blood, or come to you with propositions of shedding innocent blood, to decline. Proverbs chapter 1 verse 11. If they say, come with us, let us lay wait for blood. Let us lurk privily. That privily means privately, secretly, for the innocent without a cause. Let us swallow them up alive, as the grave, and whole as those that go down into the pit. We shall find our precious substance, kill them and rob them. We shall fill our houses with spoil. Cast in thy lot among us, let us all have one purse. God says, my son, walk not thou in the way with them. Refrain thy foot from their path. For their feet run to evil, and make haste to shed blood. Now, God tells you about these such kind of people that will approach you in life. Isaiah chapter 59 verse 7. Their feet run to evil, and they make haste to shed innocent blood. Their thoughts are thoughts of iniquity. Wasting and destruction are in their paths. But there's a curse and a punishment that comes on the land when it's polluted with innocent bloodshed. There's a reckoning that comes from God. That is what people don't understand. Jeremiah chapter 22 verse 17. But thy eyes and about these type of people who shed innocent blood. But thy eyes and thy heart are not but for thy covetousness, and for to shed innocent blood, and for oppression, and for violence to do it. Now, when I say it tells you about the land being polluted when it has too much innocent bloodshed, right? And people are cursed when they shed innocent blood. Now, this is why Jeremiah the prophet said it to those kings of Judah at the time who wanted to slay him, when he was just telling the truth. He was innocent. Now, Jeremiah chapter 26 verse 15. Jeremiah says to them, but know ye for certain that if you put me to death, you shall surely bring innocent blood upon yourselves, and upon this city, and upon the inhabitants thereof. For of a truth the Lord has sent me unto you, to speak all these words in your ears. So do you see what innocent bloodshed brings? It brings innocent, when people slay innocent, they bring blood upon themselves. They bring blood upon the city, and they bring blood upon the inhabitants thereof. Because God tells you to execute judgment stand up for innocent blood and things like that. They're supposed to be executing righteous judgment and justice, right? For such things like that. So Jeremiah warned them. He says, but know ye for certain that if you put me to death, you shall surely bring innocent blood upon yourselves, and upon this city, and upon the inhabitants thereof. For of a truth the Lord has sent me unto you, to speak all these words in your ears.